Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a look at the Osight SE closed emitter red dot. Now, I have been using Osight optics for a while now, and more specifically since they were branded under the Olight brand, and then as they transitioned to Osight, well at this point you can see I have been rocking my Osight SE now on my daily carry. It's been fantastic. Again, this here, the S being a closed emitter sight. But this is the rechargeable version, which allows you to use that proprietary recharging cover. You can plug this in via USB Type-C and always top off your optic, which is really cool, and I like that. But for people who may be looking for more of a simple option, the Osight SE, well, this is very similar in size, very similar in shape, yet it does not utilize that proprietary recharging cover. It has the standard kind of button battery that you've come to expect from typical red dot sights. And this is literally the perfect opportunity where I have an open reflex sight on my SIG P322, and I really do like the closed emitter sight at this point. I'm really enjoying them. I'm liking the look, the feel, the function. And this is a decent little red dot, but it's time to swap it out. And so as we get into this, Osight always doing a fantastic job with the packaging, pretty straightforward, but what we've absolutely come to expect from the Olight brand. Olight, Osight, O-Knife, always doing a fantastic job with their presentation, and so right away, a good quality feel. Now, as you take a look, you will see that not only is this the fully enclosed red dot sight, so your closed emitter, but the nice thing is the bottom also fully enclosed. So it is a side mount battery tray, which is awesome, and that does a couple of things. First off, you're not going to allow water, moisture, any penetration into the bottom of the optic. I'll give you an example where other designs that leverage the bottom mount battery, well, that can also introduce moisture. So if it got underneath the optic, in underneath where the slide is, that can definitely introduce moisture. So right away, you can see that the Osight SE design, in my opinion, is definitely superior. And the other thing that I like right away is the fact that both the plus and minus button are on the same side of the optic. Like for example here, you can see that the up and down buttons are on the opposite side of this optic, and that's fine, but you do definitely need to remember which side of the optic is up and which is down. And again, it's not a big deal, it's just a subtlety. And in my opinion, where I have been using the Osights now for a while, this is more consistent with what I've come to know. And in fact, if you compare it now against the Osight SE, these are the exact same controls. In fact, at an initial glimpse on this side, it literally appears to be the exact same optic with some minor differences, which then only become apparent on this side where you see that battery tray. But other than that, the construction is very much the same. The only other real notable difference, obviously across the top, here the Osight SE having that magnetic charging capability and that sort of magnetic charging plate on top. And then here it is just plain. But I have found the construction on these to be more than suitable. I'm not going to say that I am somebody that's ever torture tested or like hard use abused my optics. That's not really my style. And quite frankly, and just being straight up, I can't afford to go bashing on my stuff. I mean, I have limited, means to replace them. And at this point, my gear is all valuable to me. And the last thing I want to do is go beating it up unnecessarily. So if you want a torture test, you're probably going to need to go to another channel. But the good news, this does come with everything you're going to need. So here, your adjustment key. I would only use this personally for elevation and windage adjustments. I would not use this to install the optic. Rather, you probably want to get yourself some sort of a torque wrench. This happens to be a digital torque wrench. A lot of people oftentimes ask me what I use. This is by Van Poe, and I do have a video on this in the past. Very effective, and it's worked well for me. And the nice thing is they do provide you with torque specifications. Now, I am going to first off say for my needs, 15, 17 inch-pounds is going to be much more than I need. I am only shooting 22, and yes, I will torque down, but you might want to look into the torque specifications from the manufacturer to make sure the slide can take the same torque spec that Osight is citing and referring to when you talk about the actual optic in the Osight SE. So just be careful, and you do need to pay attention to all of those details. Now, the nice thing is you can see this also comes with spare battery compartment screws, which is cool. Opening this up, your user's manual. And what I love about the Osights, and they do this very well, they provide you with this awesome little screw kit. So what I need to do is figure out exactly what diameter and thread pattern I need. And then the reality on top of all of that is, well, they offer you 2 different sizes. So depending on what you need to do for length, that can work out very well. They provide you with a nice assortment in this clever little case, which for me should be the shorter version of the M3 at 10.5 millimeters. Now, as you take a look, you'll see these do come kind of pre-worked with some blue Loctite. I'll probably add a little bit of a fresh dot myself. And so now to say it, I took this to around 8 inch-pounds, and that feels like more than enough. I mean, that's literally, especially for 22 being a light load, that felt literally about perfect. So in my opinion, just be very careful with the torque. Now at this point, you can see this looks fantastic. Fits this particular firearm extremely well. And what I do like about the Osight RMSC style, so the smaller compact style optics, they do a nice job introducing that rear sight post. So because my particular handgun does remove that rear sight post, it's nice to now reintroduce it into the rear of the optic, and at least gives me a reference point if I need to go to iron sights. Loosening the battery tray just a bit. You will have to fully remove the battery, but you can see here as you take a look at the tray, this is one of the smaller batteries, and again here being the CR1620. So although the battery is on the smaller side, it should have plenty of performance. Osight reporting that this will have 75,000 hours of runtime in mode 3 with the dot only, and that does now speak to some of the functionality. So not only do you get the dot, but you get the circle and you get the circle dot. And so as you take a look here, you can see that is the 32 MOA circle with the 2 MOA dot in the middle. Very crisp, very bright, nice and precise. Osight has definitely been dialing in their dot. It was a little bloomy on the original version coming from Olight, but at this point I feel like they've gotten that emitter dialed in. Long pressing the side switch here, the down button, that now goes to the 2 MOA dot only. Another long press on that down button, the 32 MOA circle. And so not only does this have the ability to change the dot to the circle or the circle dot, well, it also gives you 10 different brightness levels, 8 which they're calling daytime levels, and then 2 night vision settings, which I'll be honest, I've never really used the night vision settings on any of these optics. So I can't really speak to the effectiveness or functionality. It's just something that I haven't quite experienced, at least at this point. Now, as you take a look at the Osight S, right on the front, right in front of my finger, is a sensor. And that is capable of identifying the ambient light conditions and then adjusting the reticle brightness depending on what it sees for the overall brightness. Now you can disable that and use kind of more of a manual mode to press up and down to adjust the brightness, but it is nice having the auto settings. However, here on the Osight SE, you will notice no sensor. So this is going to be manual mode only, pressing up and down on the side switch to adjust the brightness. Now working my way through the brightness settings, I'm at about halfway through the range right now. Pressing up, you'll see brighter and brighter until it blinks. That's the top of the range. Now I press down and it will go. So we'll start right from the top of the range again, where it blinks. So that's brightness level. Let's just call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is barely noticeable now. 7 and 8 is pretty much off. And that could be what they're calling those night vision modes, but who knows? Now what would be nice is a long press and having it go all the way back up to high. It doesn't. You need to single press all the way back up through the range. It would be kind of cool if they just simply introduced a long press on the plus button to get you all the way back up to the top of the range. But unfortunately, no, not a big deal. It would just be a little bit of a bonus. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on the S model, that's how you change it from the kind of automatic sensing mode to more of that manual mode where you press the brightness up and down. So there might be some availability there on the plus button on the SE model if they wanted to take you all the way to the highest mode with just a long press, but that's just my opinion. Now just real quick, running through the specifications, this is made from 7075 aluminum. On the adjustment screws, 1 MOA adjustment, so that is something that you'll need to take into consideration when you get this zeroed in. So again, that 1 MOA adjustment, which in essence is 1 inch at 100 yards. So keep that in mind. And of course, inside the dot, so the single dot, a 2 MOA dot, again representing 2 inches at 100 yards, and then a 32 MOA circle representing 32 inches at 100 yards. Multi-coatings on the lens for glare and clarity. And one thing that I absolutely love is this glass is considered to be parallax free, which this should give you a pretty good indication. As I move the optic in front of the lens, you're going to see that the actual image barely changes. You can see I'm actually passing, and there's your dot, right? So if I pass over the knife, there's no wonkiness, no waviness. That glass is pristine. I mean, literally crazy how parallax free it really is. Zero distortion. So, I mean, that's a real good sign. Again, look at how clean that image is, looking straight through the optic. Super clean. I mean, zero distortion at all. So pretty nice. Osight doing a great job with the glass. Shake awake and auto sleep. So you can disable the shake awake if you so choose by holding down both the plus and the minus button for a period of time. IPX7 water resistant rating. Again, the RMSC footprint, but if you had a different optics pattern, you can definitely get plates. So if you want, they make optional plates that you can get to go from RMSC to RMR. And the only thing that I think I would personally change, I would like this to come with a cover, just a simple dust cover. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, but a real simple basic dust cover. So while it's in storage, keeps the optic clean. And I might be wrong, but I feel like it kind of helps to potentially reduce the amount that the shake awake kind of errantly turns on. And especially when I just open and close, my safe. So anyway, little dust cover, in my opinion, would go a long way. And all in all, just very nice. So the next thing for me is getting this out to the range, getting it zeroed in, and just having some fun. So, guys, that was a preliminary look at the Osight SE, battery operated. It's not your proprietary charging version, and I can say already I like this a lot. It is super nice, and I don't care necessarily that this doesn't have the light sensor. That's something that I don't find that, quite honestly, I use all the time. It's not quite accurate enough for me. It's good to give you like gross adjustment, but I do find that I'm often fine tuning with the plus and minus button anyway, so that doesn't really bother me. The one MOA adjustment, as long as there's a nice positive click, so I'm going to, yep, so nice positive click there. It's subtle, a little bit soft, but you can definitely feel it and hear it. And so, yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to getting this out to the range. So, to the people at Osight, thank you so much for providing this for review. For the rest of you, if you like this content, take a look in the description box below where you can find all of the relevant links for your own Osight products. Check out my Outer Limitless family of channels. And thank you for following along. Take care now. I'll see you soon.